Okay, so SSSS Gridman.
Let's just refer to it as Gridman.
Yeah, which, by the way, so you know the whole deal with the title?
Because it is a reference to Superhuman Cyber Squad.
Yes.
The Americanized version of the old Gridman, like, live-action TV show.
Yeah, which I didn't realize until I went back and looked, but, like, they did... It's Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, and they did, in fact, spell samurai with an S.
Yeah.
No,
they
cyber.
Cyber with an S, yeah.
Cyber. I forgot which one was wrong. It was that stupid. But, there's also, like... There's a blink and you miss it thing at the very end when they do their like final like combine or whatever, and they put in the access code and it comes up with special signature to save a soul.
Oh, so, that's great.
So there is like an in-universe meaning for the title too.
Okay, and that's after that like frame of animation. That's when it comes up SSSS Gridman.
Yeah,
because like when they all combined, you got the really good Gridman transformation where it was like it's the ultimate Gridman, and he just looks like Ultraman because Gridman's kind of
what is like Gridman is kind of like a spin-off derivative of Ultraman, but like the Gridman that we got in the final episode is what the live-action version of Gridman looked like, as opposed to like the more mechanized version from the anime, because this is all based on like a single season, like 30 or 40 episode run of a live action kind of Ultraman Power Rangers style show.
Yeah. So, I did a little bit of research on this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because like I had the strangest reaction because you told me to watch this. You would tell me about this for a while because you were like, I need to talk to someone about this show.
Yes.
And I was like, I'll get to it. And then I watched it in a day because I was up till 4 a.m. watching it because I just needed to know what happened. And then I had the strangest reaction because like I like needed to see the next episode, and then it ended, and I just like a robot, I just like turned everything off and I went to bed and I didn't think about anything.
You just turned off.
Yeah, exactly. It was like my mom, and like since then I've thought about it very little, and it's weird because I don't know how I feel about this show.
Yeah, well, so a little setup before we get any deeper in. This show it's your typical like kind of giant robot fights a giant monster of the week kind of thing.
Yeah.
This kid Yuta who has amnesia because hey, why not? And he's like starts talking to a weird computer ghost or something, combines with it and becomes Gridman, and he's doing like if you've seen an episode of Power Rangers, you've seen what this is.
Yeah.
And that's what you think this is just going to be. That's why I thought it was going to be, since I figured Trigger is collaborating with another studio to handle their licensed property, so this is probably going to be kind of safe.
Yeah.
And it very quickly starts to go off that track.
Very, very early on in the show, when Gridman is fighting Kaiju, they reveal the villain of the show. They reveal who is creating these Kaiju.
Yeah, that's episode 2 they do this.
Yeah. And
it starts immediately asking questions about this genre of show, because, what happens every episode? Every episode's a giant monster knocks down skyscrapers, there's cities exploding, whatever, but by next week everything's fine again. Nobody even talks about it. This takes that and makes it a core plot element, because the next day all the damage is gone. No one remembers that anything happened except for the 3 main cast members, and anyone who died in the chaos was just kind of erased, and nobody even remembered them being there.
And they investigate the life of one of their classmates who was murdered, and the parents claim that she died in middle school.
Yeah,
so like her entire life has been retconned.
I've been like diving deep on this whole thing for a few weeks now, and I don't know that there's much of a point of trying to go chronologically through this show, because everything is connected well enough that once we start asking one question, it requires us to answer all questions.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say, let's pick a jumping off point and just go from there.
Okay. So we should mention some stuff. So like we mentioned the 3 main characters. That is Yuta, who is the boy with amnesia.
Yeah.
He wakes up at a classmate's house named Rikka.
Rikka.
Is a female classmate of his, and they have a mutual friend who is another classmate. What's his name?
Utsume.
And they all kind of work together. Like you said, he talks to Gridman, who is in this like old computer, because Rikka's family runs this old like junk shop, like a thrift shop.
Yep.
And Gridman is trapped inside this computer, which they refer to as junk, which is also a reference to the old TV show.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. Which junk. When I was doing some research on this, And the old show Junk had a voice actor?
Really?
Yes, which I found very interesting. I wish it had talked in this one.
Because I know they talked to Gridman through the screen, like in this one, so,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize like the computer itself was a character too.
Yeah.
The American version, by the way, was like alarmingly accurate to the Japanese show because
Really?
like it didn't do the Power Rangers thing where we're gonna take Super Sentai and just make up our own bullshit and splice in Japanese fight footage.
Mm-hmm.
They like the plots and character traits and stuff all are the same,
Okay,
even
cool.
though it's like a weird Saved by the Bell-esque soap opera in between this like fight you inside of computer stuff.
That's interesting because I thought it was still Saban.
No, this wasn't Saban. It was,
okay.
I forget who it was, but it wasn't
Okay,
them.
Good. So that's basically the setup. At the end of like the first episode, he gets sucked into Junk, and like they all think he's crazy because like he has amnesia. He's talking to a computer. What's he talking about? He's also hallucinating and seeing kaiju everywhere, just around the world that aren't attacking anything. They eventually witness him get sucked into the computer, and they figure out like then Gridman appears and fights this giant kaiju. They realize kind of what's going on. He's not crazy, and they kind of figure out we need to become like a superhero team, kind of to help him out.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah. So that's the basic plot.
Yeah, that's the
I
setup.
just wanted to get that out
Yeah,
of the way in case people have not seen this show. Go watch this show also.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna get into it.
100%.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about Yuta having amnesia.
Okay.
Because at first, like, it's like, oh, he has amnesia, because of course he does, because he's a protagonist in a show.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Their classmates who died in the attack, everyone had forgotten about them, and people were just going on their normal lives as if nothing happened. So they had essentially lost their memories as well. I assumed it would be tied back to that. And like throughout most of the series, I thought that this had been going on for a long time, and it had been. But I thought like until something had happened to Yuta, he had lost his memories up until that point. That was my assumption going forward until the end.
Well, the thing about the end is that, unless I'm misunderstanding something, we never find out why Yuta had amnesia. So it's revealed that a piece of Gridman is within Yuta, is inhabiting him.
Yes.
It isn't that Yuta had amnesia, per se. It's that the real Yuta is unconscious and has been unconscious for this entire show.
He's been possessed by Gridman.
Yeah, like there's a moment at the very end of the final episode where Yuta wakes up. That is the first time we've seen this actual character awake.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, oh, okay, it wasn't actually amnesia, because he wasn't himself, he wasn't awake. And it was the fact that Gridman's consciousness was fractured, and it wasn't amnesia. Except it was amnesia.
But that, you just said why it was amnesia. It's because he was in this traumatic incident with, what's the villain's name?
Alexis Carib.
Alexis Carib. Because we get kind of flashbacks to this fight scene, like this war almost.
Yeah.
And it was so dramatic that it fractured him.
Yeah, no.
It split him into pieces. It's not Yuta that has amnesia, it's Gridman that has amnesia, which is important.
You are right, but also wrong, because as Gridman tells it, when he came to Yuta already had amnesia.
He says that?
Yes. Like, they work out the chain of events is Yuta woke up with amnesia, then Gridman found him, and then they bonded or whatever.
Because there's the scene in the very beginning, like the first scene of the show is Yuta like looking up and seeing like stars falling essentially. And I assume that's when like Gridman possessed him. And then he wakes up with Rikka. So he had amnesia at that point.
Yes.
Why?
Okay. Alright, remember how I said that to ask one question is to answer all of them?
Yes.
So here's where I'm gonna get crazy.
Okay.
But it makes sense.
I have a crazy theory about this too.
Okay.
I want to hear yours first.
Okay. Alright. So we have to talk about Akane.
Yes, we do.
So the whole season, the whole series, Akane she's been the villain who has been making kaiju. She has been revealed to be the god of this world, and the end is her, coming to terms with everything and going back to her world, the world of the gods, cut to a real live-action person waking up in the real world.
Yes. So is this the world of the gods?
Yeah, you and me live in it right now.
We're gods!
Yeah.
High five!
Yeah.
Yeah!
Because when you think about, like, in a dream, who's God but the dreamer? In fiction, who is God but the creator?
Okay.
A creator.
Okay.
So, okay.
Dan is so excited right now.
There's just so much. I'm terrified of forgetting something.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but I looked at that end scene of the real world Akane's room a lot.
That was the scene that broke me.
Yeah. So so we're clear. Like the flow of storytelling is Rikka is talking to Akane. They're saying their goodbyes. All of a sudden, Akane disappears. Cut immediately to real girl in the real world waking up.
No, credits.
Oh yeah.
Credits, and then after credits, it's like a Marvel Stinger scene.
Okay.
Then she wakes up.
But sure, but like the flow is clear. This is Akane
Yes.
going back to where she belongs.
It's definitely Akane because there's a scene of Rikka giving her a specific case for her bus pass.
Yeah.
And that girl has it as well.
Yeah, it's on her desk right next to Akane's headphones.
Mm-hmm.
You see hanging up on the coat rack is a school uniform that Akane's wearing in like the end credits all the time. Okay. This is Akane, this is her room. And I'm like obsessing over this series of shots because I'm like, this is the perfect place to hide some shit.
Yeah.
There's actually not a whole lot there. Like there's like a fucking keyboard, like a music keyboard like that falls off the bed. I don't know if that matters, but whatever. It's there's not a whole lot there.
This felt very much like the reveal in Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah.
To me, where it's like she's aware of like everything that's going on. These are all just pawns in her game.
A little, yeah.
Yeah.
But then something did jump out at me, which is that the girl that wakes up has long black hair, which I'm like, okay, whatever. It's not an uncommon thing for a girl in Japan to have long black hair. Whatever.
Yeah. And Akane, we should say, has short purple hair.
Yeah. But then I'm like, oh, on the desk next to the headphones and the bus pass, whatever, is a set of earbuds. And over on that coat rack by the uniform that everyone was wearing in the end credits is like a tan sweater just sort of draped over.
Those are all things that Rikka wears.
This is the girl that wakes up is Rikka. Now follow me here.
Okay.
I think Akane and Rikka are the same person.
I'm thinking.
So
it's like different personalities.
I think that so what do we know about Akane? She's popular, everybody likes her. She's like the hottest girl in school, all this stuff. She has herself sitting in the main character seat in the classroom. She's like towards the back by the window. Yeah. There's all these people crowded around her. She's got kind of, at least on the surface in there, she's got this kind of like ideal life, which says to me, if this is her dream, if this is her, fictionalized reality, it's probably an idealized version of her real life. Like, I assume, like, Yuta and everybody are just kind of an idealized version of people she actually knows. Like, she really goes to the school. She really has this classroom. Like, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And she never gives a shit about Rikka.
That's true.
Like, Rikka's desk is, like, way on the other side of the room. Rikka herself mentions the fact that, oh man, it's been, like, forever since Akane has talked to me, or we've hung out or anything. The only time Akane actually shows any interest in Rikka is when she notices that Rikka's been hanging out with Yuta a lot and wants to know what's up with Yuta. So that
scene is chilling, by the way.
Yeah, the first one.
When they're on the bus together, they're the only ones on the bus. And like, you just think that it's, at this point in the show, you just think she's the one creating the kaiju. She suspects that they're the ones who are Gridman. And she says to him, like, you're spending a lot of time with Yuta. What's up with that? And he goes like, oh, it's nothing like that. We're just friends. And she said, no. Why are you spending a lot of time with Yuta? And then it's just silence. And then they arrive at the school and they both get off and we don't, like, it's so creepy.
She diffuses stuff a lot by saying, oh, gotcha, just kidding.
Yeah.
And after that, like, she hangs out with friends under the pretense of, like, I'm just gathering information. The only other time where she shows any interest in Rikka at all is around episode 9-ish, when it's the dream stuff, where her creations, the people she made are kind of rebelling against her, so she tries to put them into a deeper layer of a dream where they can have, like, the more idealized friendship that she wants to have with them.
Yes.
And with, like, Utsume and with Yuta, I buy it. I think Akane is being genuine. These are the kinds of interactions and relationships she wants to have with them. With Rikka, it felt like a power play.
Which one was Rikka? Remind me of that.
Rikka,
I remember Utsume and Yuta, but I don't even remember Rikka's.
They were on the train again, and like they were with like
yes,
like
she was just surrounded by her other friends.
Yeah, and like she invites Rikka over to her house and all this stuff.
Yeah,
that was the only time in those three that she talked plainly about what was going on.
Yeah.
And was like, wouldn't you like to just dream forever? This didn't feel like the other two, where she was trying to appeal to their desire to just have, like, a happy fantasy. This was kind of her trying to convince Rikka to not cause trouble anymore.
This whole show is Rikka rebelling against kind of depression. Like, saying, like... It's like her saying that she is good enough. She doesn't need this stuff.
Kind of. Because there's also the issue of Yuta's feelings for Rikka. Because he very blatantly likes her. It comes up kind of a lot. I think it's implied that before the show started, he might have, like, told her how he feels.
Yeah, something happened before the show started.
And in the episode 9-ish dream that Akane puts him in to reel everything in, rein him in, she replaces Rikka. It replays episode 1 where he woke up with amnesia, and this time it's just Akane in the Rikka role, which again goes to, hey, they're the same person. But also in this setup that Akane built for him, she's his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she even talks about it as this is how it's supposed to be. It's like, I think in the real world, in the you and me world, there is a real Yuta that this girl, who I guess the real one's name is Rikka, I guess, had a crush on.
I think Akane is this projection that she has created for her dreams.
Yeah.
Just the woman that she wishes she could be.
Yeah.
She wishes that she said when Yuta woke up, I'm your girlfriend. This is what's happening. She wishes that this is the outcome that happened.
And more to the point, if you're going to invent a fantasy world where you can have this idealized life, why wouldn't you also take the time to change things about yourself that you've always thought about?
Yeah.
It's as simple as, oh god, I've had this long dark hair forever. I wish I had shorter hair. And like, I don't want black hair anymore. Purple's fun.
Yeah.
Or like, even like, look at, like, if you just compare the two girls' body types even.
Yes.
It's as simple as, oh, big on the top, small on the bottom, small on the top, big on the bottom. Like, I want the thing that I've never had.
Mm-hmm.
So this brings us back to why Yuta and his amnesia are important.
Okay.
Gridman's mission, as it turns out, was to basically save Akane from herself and bring her out of there.
Yeah.
If you have to reach someone who is in this situation, because at the end of the series, Rikka and Utsume are kind of sitting around going like, hey, I wonder why Gridman picked Yuta specifically. And they're like, I don't know, maybe it's just because he was in Akane's class or something. And
they said like he sits next to her.
But while they're saying that, it cuts to like a shot of like everyone crowding around Akane, but Yuta ignoring her to look at Rikka.
Yeah.
Because Yuta had amnesia, all of the mental conditioning and rewriting Akane has done to everybody, including him, is gone. He doesn't remember any of it.
So he's a blank slate for Gridman.
Not only that, not only is he the only person in this fictional world that can see clearly, he looked at both Akane and Rikka and chose Rikka.
He loves her for who she is, not who she thinks that she should be.
He loves the real version, the representative of the real version, not the idealized fake.
Yes.
Which made him the perfect person to inhabit if the goal is to break Akane free of her own delusions.
I like this.
Yeah.
I like the show a lot more now.
Oh man. And
we can get into my theory now because it doesn't work anymore.
They're all robots.
No, my theory was that like Akane's god, obviously, of this world, and Gridman and what's the guy's name?
Which one?
The bad guy with the smoky head.
Oh, Alexis.
They were just another kind of plaything that she had created.
Yeah.
Just because she wanted something new. Like she was saying, like she was getting bored of like the kaiju and everything. It was getting stagnant. So she created a hero to fight this big bad villain. It was all just a creation that she had come up with.
Well, that's actually something I'm still not clear on, because I think that might still be true. I'm not sure. It seems like this is all just a dream in Rikka's head. Yeah.
So this is just, everything is just a creation, and I think it's pretty much because she, either in the real world she is dating Yuta, or she has a crush on this boy named Yuta, and she views him as this superhero to come and rescue her from her depression, essentially.
So it's weird because this is also very much Akane. I'm just gonna call the real girl Akane. Akane lives in our world and is a nerd who loves Ultraman and that whole series.
Yeah.
It comes up a lot. So she would know about things like Gridman and whatever, and those kind of plots. So is all the superhero, supervillain stuff something she made up as part of her fantasy, whether she knows it or not? Or is Gridman and Alexis, are they actual beings from another place that came into this space? And is this world literally her imagination, or did her like mind go into an actual like alternate world or something that she can shape?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know that we can know.
Do you think this show is so full of references to other material because that's the kind of stuff Akane likes and thought it would be cool?
Probably.
Yeah.
Although it's interesting because there was an interview by two of the people that made this show, and they were very careful about not putting in too many like older Gridman or Ultraman references in it, because they thought existing fans would love that, but it might become impenetrable to newer fans or whatever.
Yeah.
To the point that those two guys were the only people at Trigger working on it that had ever even seen the original Gridman.
Oh, nice.
And they're like, yeah, just make it awesome on its own. Just fucking go.
I saw that the other portions of Gridman's consciousness that was splintered, they showed up as like Samurai Caliber and
The Neon Genesis
high school students. Now they said, like I was reading the Gridman wiki about this, they said that could, like, the literal translation is actually just called like the new generation high school students. So that could have just been a translation error, and like somebody translating it at Crunchyroll was like, "This will be cool."
Yeah.
But that could have been the intention as well.
Probably.
Yeah, to be an Evangelion reference.
I mean, there's certain shots that make it look similar to Evangelion, like especially in episode 1 when Gridman first shows up and he's kind of slouching and whatever.
Oh yeah.
But
oh, you mean Caliber?
No, Gridman. Like when he first drops out of the sky
yeah.
and there's a shot of him. Yeah.
Did you watch Mother's Basement video on this show? Shout out to Mother's Basement, by the way. I don't want to give out another anime YouTuber's channel.
No, it's great.
On this. But it's all about like the realistic fight scenes in this show, which is a weird thing to say in an anime.
Yeah.
But every single fight scene in this show is something that almost could have been done on a real Sentai show.
Yeah, and if you pay attention to like any of the wobbly parts of these giants, like the shoulders or whatever, anytime they move, they're just kind of like oscillating back and forth as if they were made of like plastic or foam or something.
Yeah, and like you can even see in some costumes where like the actor's arms would have ended, and it's like this. That's why this tentacle's arms are floppier at the ends than at the beginning.
Yeah,
it's because the guy's arms are in there. It's so well done.
And a lot of the kaiju are based off of actual kaiju from like the Ultra series and everything.
Cool.
Especially one. They wanted to keep in-your-face references out of there for the most part, but they let themselves have one giant one, and that is the kaiju girl from the train.
Okay.
So, I watched this show twice so far.
And I considered going back to it, but I was working a lot, and I was like, I'm gonna be up till 4 a.m. again. Like, this was last night, I was thinking about it.
So, this show never tells you who the hell this is or what her deal is. It just gives some vague, like, oh yeah, my predecessor owed you a debt.
Yeah.
So, in the live-action Gridman show, there was an episode where, there's this kaiju that's kind of docile and just doing its own thing, living peacefully. And the bad guy brainwashes it and makes it go on a rampage. And instead of killing it, Gridman and his buddies, I don't know what they're called.
The evangelicals? The Evangelion high school students.
Sure. But, like, so they manage to break the mind control, and the kaiju can go back to living peacefully. And they break it by playing, like, a specific song. And in the anime here, this kid keeps Yuta from losing consciousness by putting her earbuds in his ears and playing that same song.
Oh, wow.
And at the very end, when she kind of rescues Auntie, who we'll get to.
Yeah. I have so many questions now. I thought I didn't understand it before. Now I really don't understand it.
But she saves Auntie, and like the camera pans up, and there's like a giant kaiju just kind of watching over them, and that is the kaiju from the live action show.
The one that brainwashed her?
No, the one that was.
Oh, the nice one.
Yeah. So basically, Gridman saved a nice kaiju one time in the live-action series. It went and had a daughter, I guess, and now
and
that
it's human,
and that daughter came back to repay the family debt to Gridman by helping him out here.
Yeah,
So that's what that is. Like, I'm a
that's
little,
great.
I'm a little disappointed. Like, you kind of had to go outside of the show to get that, but I like that it's there.
Like, I didn't know any of that, and I still appreciate it. Because, like, I went in and I knew, like, this was going to be a sequel or a remake or something. It was in that Gridman universe, and, like, I saw that, and it didn't take me out of it at all. I thought, like, my predecessor owes you a debt or whatever, and I was like, cool, they helped her out before. I was like, even if this isn't a specific reference to something, Gridman has been around a long time.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
It's one of those things where I'm like, every time she pops up, I'm like, who are you?
It also foreshadowed the fact that there could be good kaiju.
Yeah. Which brings us to Auntie.
The whole show, I was like, this guy really wants to kill Gridman, and I think he's my favorite character. I love him. Because, like, every time, he's so sympathetic. Every time we see him, she's just, what's her name?
Akane?
Akane is, like, throwing something at him and just beating the crap out of this poor guy. And he just really wants to kill Gridman so bad.
Yeah. And we should say, so, like, all of the kaiju Akane make are an extension of herself. Like, they're made from the pain in her heart.
Yes.
Including Auntie. So, at this point, I want to talk about eyes.
Okay.
Eyes are so important in this show.
Right.
And I don't mean like basic shit, like, oh, once Yuta realizes he's Gridman and not Yuta, his eyes turn yellow or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's a very obvious one.
Hey, Rob, what color is everyone's eyes in the show?
Are they all blue?
They are all blue, except for Akane, whose are red, which shows you that, oh, well, there's something different.
Even notice
there's
that.
something different about her. And Auntie, because he's a kaiju made from her, also has red eyes that match hers.
It also, I'm sorry to interrupt, it also leads to the fact, if this is Rikka's dream, and she has blue eyes in the real world, that just kind of would make sense.
Yeah, well, and also, Rikka's eyes in the dream, they're blue like everyone else, except the lower third are red.
That's interesting.
She is the only character in this show that has eyes that are like that, which implies that she has a unique connection to Akane, which is different from Auntie's connection to Akane. Like, she is an aspect of Akane, whereas Auntie is kind of a manifestation of some of her bad feelings. And actually, Auntie's growth over the course of the series, becoming more human and less kaiju, can be seen as how those feelings can change, and how, like, Akane can grow if she's willing to try.
Yeah, it's almost a direct mirror of what's happening with Akane, because the more he becomes more and more human, she begins to regret her actions more and more.
Yeah. And I think it's telling that by the end, like, one of the last shots is, you know, because at some point he, like, gets his one eye, like, really messed up.
Yeah,
and
Alexis hits him with a saw.
Yeah.
It's oh, God.
And is been bandaged up forever, but, like, one of the final shots in the animation is the bandages come off and that eye is blue now.
Yeah.
So he's got one blue, one red.
This also means that Auntie is an aspect of Rikka, like the real world person who is asleep. If your theory holds true.
Yeah.
So at the end of this, that kind of means that because this happens after she has had her conversation with Akane, like the two have talked. She said, like, I got to go back to my planet needs me.
Yeah.
So they've kind of accepted each other.
Yeah.
And made peace with both sides, because Akane and Rikka are kind of both sides of the same coin. So Auntie is the resolution of that.
He started out as just straight up, I am an aspect of Akane, I am the pain in her heart. But his main power is a mimic ability to make himself more like Gridman. To the point that after he's done this over and over and over again, he starts exhibiting traits and desires that are more in line with a person.
Yeah.
Eventually he becomes like the fucking Green Ranger or whatever.
Yeah.
And he becomes like a Gridman of his own. His eye changes to kind of like, he's more of like a half and half split of like what he was and what he could be. I think it's also interesting to think about, Rikka is a manifestation of the real version of Akane, and they both have polar opposite interactions with him. because Rikka is always like giving him food, being nice to him,
Yeah.
like giving him his first bath ever, just trying to help him out and talking to him like a person. Whereas Akane is always like throwing shit at his face and calling him like worthless and trying to send him away.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that Rikka has created Gridman to kind of be her defense, her protector, and Akane has created Auntie to be her protector, saying like you can't do that. That like I'm gonna have my own as well. And at the end, they've kind of just became one, and accepted. Like at the end, when eventually Akane is accepting, kind of, and a little bit nicer to Auntie. There was never really like a big hug or anything like that.
No.
But and Auntie ends up helping him, and it's all just at that point everyone's just kind of accepted each other.
Yeah. Well,
Have you played Celeste yet?
not yet.
This show is Celeste.
Okay, cool. And it mirrors the whole arc of Yuta and Gridman because they're able to basically they're able to self-actualize by taking all of the disparate parts and putting them back together to reform the real version of Gridman.
Yep.
And that's basically what Akane has to allow herself to do to move on.
She's picking up her pieces. And
Yeah,
putting herself back together.
It's awesome because like the main theme of this show, like the music from the opening and the one that punctuates all the cool action stuff, is called Union. And
that's pretty good.
And at first I thought, oh, it's because Yuta combines with the computer and all these people become like parts of a robot and they put together all. But it's like it's about accepting all the parts of yourself as one.
Yes, it's about not turning away from your darker parts and realizing that is part of you, and being okay with that. And that's what Auntie represents at the end.
Yeah, like this
they have become one.
Like this only could have ended with a conversation alone between Rikka and Akane, because it is literally her coming to terms with herself.
Yeah, this is a show about depression, and I didn't expect that.
Yeah,
this is really cool.
And it's like okay, what do you do when even your escapist fantasy stops being someplace you can retreat to?
Yeah.
The answer it posits is that you need to stop retreating.
Yeah, and it really does make sense, because whenever we see Rikka's, is it Rikko? Rikka. What is wrong with me? I can't remember anyone's name.
Don't know.
Whenever you see Rikka's home, it's a junk shop. It's kind of messy, but it's you can tell it's a family home. Her mother's there. She really cares for her daughter. They joke with each other. It's a nice place. That's where everyone spends their time. It's their little hideout. Whenever you see Akane's home, it doesn't, like, I thought it was just because she's gonna be like the villain of the show, but it actually doesn't look like it makes any physical sense.
Yeah, well, like
it's just walls and walls of kaiju figures and garbage bags.
And we saw the main floor once, and it was just empty.
If that was even it, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah,
but that could have just been a projection that she was giving because it was Rikka's dream.
That's true.
A dream within a dream.
Yeah,
yeah.
At first I thought, oh, the bags of garbage and whatever are just there to imply like a shut-in kind of lifestyle or whatever, like to give a contrast to the bubbly public persona that she puts on. But I love the idea that she goes home to a room where she is just surrounded by her own baggage.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah, and she keeps it like that because Rikka's ashamed of this part of her body. Of her mind, I should say.
Yeah.
Like, because, like, that's where and all of the displays and everything are very nice. All of the kaiju figures are all in glass cases, and that's all nice. But she's ashamed of her fandom and the way that this person thinks of other people. And it's a part of herself. And eventually she comes to accept it.
Something that drove me crazy for a while was that marble. Remember that marble?
Yeah, what was with that marble?
So this is a thing where early on, like, they're all getting soda or whatever, and there's a marble in a bottle. I don't know if that's just a thing that they do in Japan. I have no idea. But
I think it's Pocari Sweat. I saw a thing about this.
Okay.
It's a little salty. It tastes like sweat.
Gross.
Yeah.
So
it's a popular drink in Japan.
Great. So, like, Calibur's trying to get the marble out of the bottle, can't do it, so he gets a sword and cuts it out of the bottle, and now Yuta just has this marble with him all the time. They don't let you forget. It's always popping up. It's featured very prominently in the opening. And
I kept thinking something was going to happen with it.
Yeah, and I'm like, what the hell? What is this marble? And I started to think, okay, maybe it's like a general, the marble is this world and it's in this bottle isolated from whatever, or maybe Akane is the marble and her world is the bottle, like whatever. And I'm like, it does look kind of like the jewel in Gridman's head that blinks when he's running out of power. That I think matters, because eventually when we find out that, part of Gridman's consciousness has been inside Yuta all this time. Like, the fact that this marble looks like that jewel from Gridman's head, and Yuta's always carrying it around, it's symbolic of the fact that Yuta's been carrying around a piece of Gridman with him.
Yeah.
So I think that's what that is.
Okay.
I could be wrong, I don't know. It's a fucking marble.
I really thought that was going somewhere else. Okay. I thought you were going to do another, huge reveal.
No.
And be like, this is what it is.
No, you want one of those? I got one more of those.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, Akane is Optimus Prime.
Like the Optimus Prime?
Well, specifically Shattered Glass Optimus Prime, which is a alternate timeline Transformers story. It's a mirror universe thing where, what if the good guys were bad guys and the bad guys were good guys.
Okay.
And in it,
so Megatron's the good guy in that story.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, oh my god. So Shattered Glass Optimus Prime.
Oh my god.
You're looking at the pictures.
I'm looking at pictures.
His color scheme is black and purple. It's mostly purple, different shades of it, which is why Akane wears purple clothes all the time. The right windshield is cracked, kind of orangey, greeny glass, like the one lens on Akane's glasses that's always cracked. His earpiece
is the same as her headphones.
It's the same as her headphones. The picture on here is kind of shitty, but it's got the kind of ventilator kind of texture to it.
Photoshops that you make for every one of these.
I found this one.
Oh, okay.
There's more. Here's a better picture of Shattered Glass Optimus.
Oh my God.
But yeah. So as it turns out, this show is filled to the fucking brim with references to this specific Transformers storyline.
Really?
Yes. So from the fucking top.
They just scrolled way up on an article.
So,
I wish you guys could see this.
So Yuta here
has those weird horns on his head.
Well, that's just hair. Who cares?
Okay.
His shoes are important.
Shut up about that.
His shoes are important because he's Hot Rod. Look, his shoes are modeled after Hot Rod's feet.
But Hot Rod has the same fucking thing on his head.
Oh, he does have the horns. Okay.
So shut up.
Yeah, shut up, Rob. Stop being right. Then you got Utsume. You see he's got his color scheme here. You got the logo on his shirt. It looks like an 8 with a slash through it.
Yeah, I was wondering about that logo.
There's a logo again. You go down here. You got this guy. I don't even know this guy's name. Whisper? I don't know. He's got it's the same color scheme and the Autobot symbol with a scar through it.
Okay.
And then this is my favorite. Remember her? Remember
I do,
Rikka's friend with the face mask all the time?
Something with an M, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Masky, I don't know.
Masky, yeah.
She's got you got the whole color scheme. You got the face mask. Where is it? She's Soundwave.
Oh my god.
The face mask is the faceplate.
Yeah.
That's the color scheme. And Soundwave, what does Soundwave do? He vomits other robots out of his chest.
Yeah.
Like Ravage, this white fucking panther.
Okay.
Which on her goddamn sweater
my
is a
God.
white panther, and it says Ravage.
It says Ravage on it.
And let's see what else we got. There's Optimus. There is
her other friend who hangs out with Masky all the time.
Yeah, she's just got a little Starscream clip or something. That one's not as good.
Okay.
The ones that I love. Then there's this. There's
It just says Thunder, and it's a picture of a shark.
I think there's a Transformer named Thundercracker, which is it's like a bunch of Skittles exploded.
It's a great design
and covered a robot. But then there's this student with this weird 90s jacket that says Thunder on the back. So that's Thundercracker. And then you got the Sys Weapon people who are all just the Dinobots. On their suit their suit collars, they each have a little symbol that corresponds to a design element from a different Shattered Glass Dinobot. Look at this. Look at that thing, and then the shape on over here,
God.
and this, and him over there. You got this one, it's not super clear, but it's in there, and this guy's there. So they're all fucking Transformers.
That's the end of the article?
That's all of it, yeah.
You know what that tells me?
What?
Rikka was not here.
There was one that had her, but
okay.
I looked at a couple of these. I pulled up the wrong one. I don't know who Rikka was.
Oh, okay. But that would just lead credence to the fact that she's a huge fan of all this stuff, and this is all the designs that she came up with, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it could just be that these are her friends, and these are the weird clothes that she put them in, because in the stream world, she really liked that show, you know?
Like, if it was just, hey, look at these traits that Akane has in common with that Optimus Prime, like, I would say, like, okay, yeah, whatever, that's not real. But as soon as I saw,
that's kind of a fun
as soon as I saw, like, the Neon Genesis kids, like, lapels, I'm like, oh, wait a second. And I saw Ravage, I'm like, wait a second.
It says Ravage, and not Thundercracker once, but he played
It's all real! They really love this one comic book.
Oh, man. But, yeah, I said, like, I don't know how I feel about the show in the beginning. Now I really like this show. Like, that's awesome.
It's so good.
Yeah. And, like, I had no idea about any of that. I liked it when, like, I thought it was just, like, this god who created, like, this world. And it kind of is still that, but this takes it to another level. This is the best dream sequence that's ever been done.
Yeah, like, this takes the whole trope of, like, oh, it was all a dream, so nothing mattered, and, like, completely shits on that.
Yeah.
It's amazing at how many times they sort of tell you what the last scene is gonna be.
Yeah. Like, they flat out... There's an episode where everything's a dream, and she says, wouldn't it be nice to dream forever?
Yeah.
This is that part of her trying desperately to stay alive, even though she knows she can't.
And then, like, once they're all out of that, Gridman's like, there's still one person that we need to wake up. And they're like, Akane Shinjo. And then, way earlier, one of the first times we see her talking to Alexis, I forget exactly what he said, but he flat out calls her human, or like, you're the only real human, or something like that.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, he says, like, you're the only... Because, like, everyone else... And I assumed it was, like, everyone else was, like, her creation or whatever. But, no, she's the only real human.
And I like a detail I kind of like is how both the first and last episode have the same title of Awakening.
Yes.
Because that is when Gridman awakens inside Yuta, and then at the end, it's Akane awakening back into real life.
Yes.
What did you think of the CG?
I thought it was great.
Yeah, at first, like, I watched the first episode of this and thought, man, I like the character slice of life stuff, but the CG fight scenes suck. I don't like this. But I went back anyway because I'm like, oh, I'll give Trigger another shot.
Yeah, the first episode, I kind of had a similar reaction. I just thought, that's a little distracting, but I still liked the look of it. And then in the next couple episodes, I loved it. I thought it was amazing. And it really lends credence to the fact that this all looks like something that could be shot with live actors.
Yeah.
Because, like, the camera gets really low and they, like, drop from the sky, and it looks better than what they could have hand animated.
Yeah, and I was scared at first because the opening sequence had so many still frames.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, are you saving up budget already? What's going on here? But yeah, it was such, like, a well-shot show.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those where, like, after a few episodes, it really hits you, like, almost every time two people are in a shot together, there's something separating them. And then when Kaiju shows up and Gridman comes out, all of a sudden they're above the skyline and it's open and bright and uninterrupted, and it's like popping a balloon and exploding outside of it. It's like
it's hard. Usually I'm not noticing when, like, a director does a good job on an anime, but it's very obvious they had a great director.
Music was great.
The
main theme is great. The music that plays when Akane, like, reveals that she's a god to Rikka, that, like, kind of synth song, it's got, like, this orchestral 80s feel.
I loved I loved the, like, the Tobin Beach episode they had where they just went rafting, and then, like, they explained later that Akane just kind of had to build that world for them.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, because it's a gag twice in that episode that, oh, people fell asleep on the train, oh, ha, 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 ha. And then we find out later from, like, the weird little girl that, like, oh, no, everybody falls asleep on the train to kind of hide the fact that there's nothing outside the city.
Yeah. It's awesome. So good. It's really good. I think I'm done. I think we're done. I think
that's
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
Are there any other big reveals you have?
I don't think so. We talked about...
No one else is a Transformer?
No, not yet. We talked about Transformers. We talked about Eyes. We talked about the marble. Talked about Akane and Rikka being the same person.
No, I really wasn't expecting that going into this conversation. I thought we would just talk about the show a little bit, but this is...
Do you see why I'm like, no, watch it. I gotta talk to somebody.
Yeah.
No, that's it, I guess. I loved this.
It was so good, yeah.
It's so weird. Like, this year was bookended by Trigger collaborating with other studios, and one gave us Gridman, and the other gave us Darling in the Franxx.
Two complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. I really love the fact that when they get to the whatever episode where we get flying Gridman, and he's fighting the puppet in the sky.
Yeah.
He flies up past the clouds, and there's, like, a ceiling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, they can't go to space!
Yes!
They physically can't go to space!
Yeah, even Mother Spaceman said that. It's like, there's very little chance they can go to space in this series.
Oh, no, I have to bring up the one last thing. This was the funniest fucking thing. Where they're all sitting around going like, alright, well, what are we gonna do? And like, Yuta or somebody is like, why don't we just go... Let's just go to Akane's house and talk to her directly. And they're like, can we do that? They're like, yeah, there doesn't seem to be any other choice. They're like, alright, let's go. And they walk out the door 8 feet to the right, which is where Akane lives.
Yes.
It is somebody on Twitter who I will never be able to source, but thank you for this. They're like, it was so close that the last person didn't even have time to shut the door before the first person was opening Akane's door.
That's great. And it really, again, I'm so amazed by this theory. It's not even a theory. Like it's confirmed basically.
It makes sense.
It makes so much sense.
Even if it's wrong, it makes the pieces fit.
Yeah, that they're the same person because they're essentially in the same house. She just cordoned it off with a wall because she's ashamed of it. That's so cool.
So yeah, if you haven't watched SSSS Gridman,
why are you listening to this portion of the show?
Yeah.
Why did you come this far?
Watch it anyway. Even knowing what you know now, watch it. I've seen both. The dub is good.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, Funimation has a dub.
Nice.
It's one of those things where like during the action-y parts between like the music and the sound effects and like the vocal distortion, some of the dialogue gets a little lost. Mm-hmm. But yeah, both are good.
Okay. Yeah, definitely still watch it. Yeah, if you've made it this far and you haven't watched it, it's worth seeing the awesome fight scenes and the animation and everything like that. It's great.